And here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. The preview or the breakdown for Dillian Whyte's most dangerous fight yet against Alexander Povetkin. But before I do that, I have some breaking news for you. Multiple sources are reporting that Tyson Fury, yes, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, could well become the next host for the Contender Series. You remember the Contender Series back in the day with Sugar Ray Leonard? And I think Sylvester Stallone was a part of it at one point. Now they're saying that even Sergio Mora and Andre Ward got involved with it, I believe. Now, and of course, Britain's own Paul Smith was once part of that Contender Series at one point. So Tyson Fury could well become the next host for the Contender Series. So I hope you you know about it. So you know where you heard it. So yeah, that'd be quite interesting to see Tyson Fury as the contender on the Contender Series as the host. I think he'd do all right as a host. It'd be interesting how he does that over a period of weeks doing that. It'd be interesting to see how he does that filming and how his personality kind of translates on screen for a longer period of time, and the focus is not him, but the focus is on other fighters. Whether he could do that, I think that'd be very interesting for Tyson Fury. Anyway, let's break this down. So I went back and I looked at tape of Dillian Whyte. I looked at tape of Alexander Povetkin. So as you know, the last fight I did the breakdown for Cecilia Brækhus and Jessica McCaskill. And as soon as that fight was announced, I believe that Jessica McCaskill had the tools and was good enough to beat Cecilia Brækhus. And I gave you a complete breakdown as to how that was going to go about. And that manifested right in front of our faces. One of the things about breakdowns that I enjoy is actually seeing how much of what you learn over the years. Now I've been doing this since 2013 now, how many times you get your breakdowns. Say every time you don't do well in the prediction, but people go, you didn't get your prediction right. But it's still a learning experience. You've got to get better with your predictions, or at least take more things into account with the fight. So this prediction, I am rambling just a little bit to let other people get into the room. But this particular breakdown, I'm going to try and bring all the things I've kind of learned previously, from previous fights, bring it to this fight, and then bring that into my breakdown for this fight. So I'm going to start with Dillian Whyte. And I know people are talking a lot about the experience. Yeah, Dillian Whyte, he's gained experience. He's been learning on the road. He had fights against Oscar Rivas and Joseph Parker. Yeah, no, he's done well since he got knocked out by Anthony Joshua. His left hook's devastating. He's a good body puncher. Blah, 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 blah. I've heard that narrative, and I get that, and I hear that. But there's some things that Dillian Whyte does repeatedly in fights that haven't changed, or I haven't seen them change yet. One of the things that Dillian Whyte does is back himself when his back is against the ropes. That is where Dillian Whyte is most vulnerable. Believe it or not, when his back is literally touching the ropes, he's most vulnerable. If you look at where Joseph Parker dropped him, and you look at where Oscar Rivas dropped him, Oscar Rivas dropped him with an uppercut he didn't see. And of course, Joseph Parker hit him with the overhand right. I think it was overhand right he hit him with. Dillian Whyte also, when he gets tagged with a good shot, he does still tend to want to get in the heat of the moment, like to exchange. Even when he's hurt, he's more likely to exchange with you rather than hold and tie up. We saw that with the Rivas fight. We saw that with the Parker fight, and those are two times instinctively he was hurt. And again, he did that in the Joshua fight. So he'll fight back when he's hurt. That's his natural fighting instinct to fight back. Even if he's close to gone, he's going to fight back. Now, much like when I spoke about Anthony Joshua, and I knew how Joshua was going to get knocked out, and I told you exactly the punch, how he'd get knocked out, how it would start the sequence of punches, Joshua opening up, leaving himself open to the left hook. And I spoke about this over and over and over again to people who were big Joshua supporters, and they didn't want to listen to the clear technical flaws this guy had. And people tend to not listen to technical information. They rather think it's a personal bias I have against a fighter. No, if it's a technical flaw, it's a technical flaw. And that was a technical flaw. Joshua is a far better boxer when he doesn't engage and try to take you out of there. Because when he tries to take you out of there, that's where he leaves himself exposed, defensively responsible, and as you saw with the Andy Ruiz fight, gets taken out. And I also said that unlike Klitschko and unlike Dillian Whyte, if Andy Ruiz catches Anthony Joshua, it will be a flurry of punches. He'll hit him with the left hook, he'll hurt him, and then a flurry of punches will knock Joshua down. He'll just overwhelm him with punches. See, Povetkin's another one of those type of guys. He hits you with a big shot, and then he overwhelms you with punches. He's got fast, short hands. He throws the shots. Very similar to Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a bit younger, but of course, Povetkin's got more of the experience, a bit more polished, and Povetkin for himself as well is in better shape than Andy Ruiz, so he can, you know, he knows his weight. He knows the best weight for him to come in at. A consummate pro, bit different. So I would say in all the fights that Dillian Whyte is fought, apart from Joshua, this guy Povetkin athletically is probably the best he's facing. I don't mean that in age. I mean that in technical, in dynamics. Short, squat, explosive, good speed, good fast hands, puts punches together quickly. So if he hits you, it's not if he hit you, bam, with a shot, and then you're slow coming 2 or 3 more punches. This is a guy left hook, bam, shot, and then bam, 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 bam. So he'll come in with 3, 4 shots after he hits you he'll hit with a sequence of punches, which is danger signs for Dillian Whyte. If Dillian Whyte gets hurt by Povetkin, and there's a number of ways that Povetkin can hurt Dillian Whyte, don't just think about the left hook. When Dillian Whyte puts his gloves up, he always seems to leave a gap for a straight right hand through the middle. Parker buzzed him that way. So when he puts his guard up in front of his face, the right hand is there, straight through the middle. And Povetkin throws an overhand right, and he can throw it through the guard. So Povetkin can go through the middle, he can go around the sides, and he can go up, as you saw. So you saw the Rivas fight where Rivas hit Dillian Whyte with the uppercut, back in against the ropes. And that's where Dillian Whyte is most vulnerable, with his back against the ropes. So if you're Povetkin, you don't fight this fight at long range. You get Dillian close to ropes, and you do your work with him on the rope, with his back against the ropes, because this is what happens. Dillian Whyte is unable to then throw that left hook, that big leap, that big left hook he's got, and he has to now fight an inside game against a guy that I suspect is a better inside fighter, has got faster hands and more effective. Look at Oscar Rivas. Rivas had his best spells of the fight when he had Dillian Whyte back up against the ropes. When he allowed Dillian Whyte to use his long levers, his long arms, Dillian Whyte is able to use a straight right hand, which hurt Rivas. And he was able to use a nice jab as well and keep Rivas at distance. Well, Dillian Whyte's good at keeping you at distance and cracking you the right hand. What Dillian Whyte isn't so good at doing is when you start getting on top of him, or you start to put some pressure on him, educated pressure on him, and start to sting him and start to hurt him. I don't think he still has that. He's got that instinctiveness to want to fight, maximum violence. So it's whether he will be able to hold that together when he's in the clinches, or when he's engaging. The engagement of Dillian Whyte, as I said before, is going to be very interesting. Very interesting, because if he makes one mistake, one move at this level, you open the door for Povetkin. All right. Now, Povetkin himself, I look back at the Michael Hunter fight, and I saw when Michael Hunter started opening up the right hand on Povetkin, Povetkin couldn't move his big head out of the way. He couldn't. He was just a sitting target for for Michael Hunter. Having said all of this, Dillian Whyte is no Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter's got fast hands, Olympic pedigree, has been boxing much longer than Dillian Whyte. And the key thing about Hunter, he's got speed and movement. And he's a herky-jerky type. He's one of these guys who always awkward, unorthodox style at coming at you. You see, and Dillian Whyte is, for the most part, pretty predictable about what he's going to be doing. Very predictable. He's got to be very careful. The thing about Dillian Whyte is when he throws that right hand, goes off balance. He goes off balance. And if you look at the fights, the Rivas fight, the Chisora fight, the Parker fight, there are sloppy moments in there. Sloppy moments that a world-class technician will take advantage of and punish you for it as well. If you look at Povetkin, even though he was getting tagged with them shots of Hunter, he was riding the shots. He was hurt, but he's riding the shots, looking, riding the shots, tying up, riding the shots. Dillian Whyte, when he gets hurt, he wants to engage. He hasn't learned how to. I mean, he tied up against Parker, but let's be honest, if it wasn't 25 seconds before the end of the fight, if that was a minute to go in the fight or 2 minutes to go in the fight, we wouldn't be talking about Dillian Whyte today. We really wouldn't. So he's been fortunate to be against guys who've not been able to close the show on him, as Povetkin can close the show. Povetkin himself has a tendency to start slow. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if Dillian Whyte might think, you know what? I'm a bigger man. I'm a stronger man than Hunter. If I go after Povetkin and I go throwing my shots at Povetkin, I can hurt Povetkin and I can blast him out of there. Yeah, he possibly can. He possibly can, being a bigger man. But he's a slower man. So when he starts to let them hands go, he leaves himself open to getting caught by Povetkin. And the mistakes he would make against Chisora and Rivas, you can't make those mistakes against Povetkin. Now, the other thing is that I don't think people are talking about. At the moment, people are saying that, oh, Dillian Whyte's coming in lighter. Is that an advantage? Now, historically, with heavyweights, when they're in fights and they're fighting, they're losing weight and they come down in weight, one of the things, they may gain a little bit more speed, right? But okay, you lose weight, but he's never going to be faster hand. He's never going to have faster hands than Michael Hunter, no matter how much weight he loses. But you lose that weight. One thing you do lose is the ability to absorb shots more. The other thing you lose, when I say absorb shots, I mean you can actually absorb a bit more because you've got more weight on you and you can lean on an opponent. When you're hurt, you can lean on him, lean against the ropes, and that extra, stone and a half or 2 stone, you can lean on Povetkin. But if you're going to use that weight, and you're going to be trying to be light on your feet and try and box, that's interesting. But you're going to try and box against a guy who's a better boxer than you, it's risky. It's a risky strategy. And we're going to find out whether a lighter Dillian Whyte is a positive or a negative. Because, I mean, this is the light. If this is the lightest Dillian Whyte's coming in at, where's the gauge? Where's the mark to say, because he's lighter, he comes in better? Well, we could say that about Deontay Wilder because we've seen Deontay Wilder when he fights heavier, the 16 zones, or we've seen when he comes in lighter. We've seen Derek Chisora when he fights heavier. We've seen Derek Chisora when he fights lighter. As for Dillian Whyte, this might be an interesting fight. So, like I said, using the jab against Derek Chisora, using the jab against Roscoe Rivas is not using the jab against Alexander Povetkin. All right, let's get this very clear. Let's get this very clear. So, strategy for Dillian Whyte: keep the fight in the center of the ring. Do not if your back touches the ropes against Alexander Povetkin, you can kiss goodbye to your #1 contender spot. If your back goes against the ropes against Alexander Povetkin. If your back touches the ropes and Povetkin's there, good night. Good night. And if your back touches the ropes against Alexander Povetkin late on in the fight, then we know what's going to happen. Keep off those ropes. Povetkin's going to set a pace. Keep off those ropes. People said, oh, yeah, well, if the fight goes to the second half of the fight, then Dillian Whyte's got a better chance of stopping Povetkin. What? Well, it seems to me that Dillian Whyte seems to tire in fights. Now, I don't know if by training with Xavier Miller that those stamina issues have been resolved. I don't know. Because as far as I was concerned, well, not what I'm concerned, as far as the record has been up to this point, Mark Tibbs has been an excellent trainer. Mark Tibbs has done everything for Dillian Whyte. But 2 fights in a row, stamina seemed to be a problem. So, I mean, the stamina was an issue because he tired significantly. So, you tell me. You tell me. So, I know the thing is for me, technically, this fight is one on who can stick to the game plan under pressure. I don't think if I'm setting a strategy up for Alexander Povetkin, I'll tell Povetkin go at White, allow him to engage you into a fight, throw lots of feints, and let White come at you. Let him come at you. You are the significantly better boxer. You face better jabs. You face better right hands. You felt better technicians. You face better brawlers. Let him come at you. Let White set the pace. Lots of feints. Lots of feints. Make him and make him feel like take that jab away from White. Take it away from him. You've got to literally take the jab away from White. So you can't use it as a rangefinder. Make him feel uncomfortable with it. Because he knows that your left hook is the punch that you to look out for. Set him up. Shake him with the left. Crack him with a straight right hand through the middle. So those are things that Povetkin can do to take White out of his stride. As for Dillian Whyte now, he's got to hold the fight in the center ring. When the fight gets close and up close and against the ropes, tie Mr. Povetkin up, turn him. But are you big enough? Are you heavy enough to do those things against Alexander Povetkin? This is the question. This is the question. So, you know, it's not. Sometimes I think Povetkin. I look at Povetkin at times. I think myself, is it a stamina issue for Povetkin, or is it a motivation thing for Povetkin, or is it do I really want to be here, Povetkin? Because I don't think stamina is an issue for Povetkin. I think stamina is an issue because I saw, if you look at the Hunter fight, he fought at a damn fast pace against Hunter, and he was getting hit with some big blows by Hunter. So if you've got stamina issues and you get hit with them big blows, and Hunter was going to his body, he was going to his head, he was getting caught clean, he was getting rocked in that fight. If you don't have good stamina, you don't come through those stages. You don't come through those full 5 rounds. And he came through those rounds and came back and put it on Hunter. And in the 7th round, I think, as far as I was concerned, he dropped Hunter. So all this stuff about Povetkin's stamina, I don't buy it. Not for one bit do I buy it. Because I'm going to ask you the question. If you say somebody's got a stamina problem, I'm going to say to you, all right, well, show me the fight we had a stamina problem. And I would say to you, I want to know where in his fight, where in all his career has he shown he's had a stamina problem. Look at the guys he's fought. He's fought physically bigger guys. So it's probably more about, and if you're going to talk about stamina problems, if you look at the way Canelo fights in a similar sort of way. You'd think Canelo's got problems because Canelo in fights kind of like, he fights for a bit, and then he looks like he's blown out his ass, and he can continue fighting. Another guy who did that a lot was Chris Eubank Sr. But because I knew Chris Eubank Sr. on a personal level, and I knew Chris Eubank Sr. when I used to go running, when I used to box and go running along the beach, and I see how Eubank used to train. Eubank would run for a bit, stop and pose, walk about, and then run a bit more, and then pose. Then that's how his whole career was, about fight a little bit, pose, fight a little bit, pose. He couldn't do 3 minutes because he never trained for 3 minutes. And I suspect people like Povetkin, Canelo, and Eubank are guys, the way they train is, well, you know, I'm not going to fail to fight flat out for 3 rounds, for 3 minutes. Those are 3 guys that I've seen fight, take a break. Eubank used to go for a pose. Canelo would just stand in front of you, put his hands up, and just catch punches. But they look like they're gassed. Yeah? They look like they're gassed until you try something on them, and then you're getting tagged and getting hurt. So these guys are very crafty. They're all experienced fighters. So they all know what they're doing. And a lot of times these guys are saving the gas for later on in the fight. Rounds 9, 10, 11, or 9, 10, 11, and 12, the championship rounds. And sometimes they're told by their trainers, listen, you know what? Take your foot off the gas here. you're blowing a bit, take your foot off the gas. Unless you really need to engage with this guy, take a breather. And then when you really need to engage, then put your foot down and be able to throw 4, 5, 6 punches. You understand? So it's what's being told in the corner. It's not always about it's not all about always about what the fight is doing. Sometimes the trainers are in the corner giving instructions, and you have to take that into consideration as well. Now we're going to go into the corners of Povetkin and White. Povetkin knows his weight, knows his best fighting weight, knows what he needs to do to get himself into shape. He's been there over and over and over again. But when you look at someone like Dillian Whyte now, he's been there over and over again with Mark Tibbs. Now you're getting into the biggest fight of your career with against Alexander Povetkin, with Xavier Miller and Dave Colwell. In my opinion, if maximum violence happens and Dillian has to, in a big fight, has to rein it all in, can Miller and Colwell calm White down in the fight? Can they calm him down? Have they got what it takes to calm him down in the middle of a fight? So this is a question. I've talked about the weight earlier on. What is his best weight? What is Dillian Whyte's best weight? Did Dillian Whyte know what his best weight is? So lots of question marks, lots of question marks. He may not even take the punch the same way as he took the punch against Povetkin. I mean, against not Povetkin, against Rivas and Parker, and he was fighting regularly there as well. So let me just go back and see the comments in the room, and we'll chat and see what you guys are saying. Let's go back to the comment section. Ruben Gray says timing. I think timing is right for Dillian. I'm not so sure. Blue Collar Sport says Povetkin looks in excellent shape, very lean. This has banana skin written all over it. Amen. I tend to agree with you that. Let's hope so. He can finally be done with all this white mandatory talk. Okay. Blue Collar Sports TV says Dillian needs to be careful with his straight right. Still wild with it and very inaccurate. You know, another one who used to throw a right hand, which is really inaccurate, was Tony Bellew. He had that right hand. You can see that right hand coming. You can make a cup of tea and come back, and that right hand still ain't landing. Throws himself off balance a lot. Povetkin's tight left hook counter is a remedy for that. Now, I know Xavier Miller was talking in camp that they were going to work on the balance of Dillian Whyte. So let's hope that those balance issues have been dealt with there. Evening, Ingram. Whyte coming in lighter might be an advantage, but this is usually a sign of overtraining. Yeah, but that's a good point. But he has been out in Portugal and not been in the UK training. So I don't know. Been a long time. He's been training a long time. And if he has overtrained, the only time he'll know if he's overtrained is when he's in the ring. That's the time you find out when you've overtrained. You can feel great up until fight night. And then when you get in the ring, it's not the same. Your punches are not coming out the same way. Stiff. Your timing's off. This is the wrong night to have your timing off against Povetkin. I might try jab and move. Don't want to stand in range and trade with hooks. Well, okay, you've got to ask yourself. I say fighters fighting patterns, right? For the most part, fighters fighting patterns. Joshua fought the way he did against Andy Ruiz because he got a shellacking in the first fight and was so scared of Andy Ruiz. It was for him to basically run around the ring, jab and move, hold and grab. So it's very easy for you to do that because you've got the fear of God put in you. That's not the way Joshua generally fights. He had the fear of God put in him. But generally, fighters fight a similar pattern. And Dillian Whyte fights, for the most part, the same way in his fights. For the most part, he fights the same way in his fights. So to see Dillian Whyte now getting on the jab, looking to box, and not engage with Povetkin, well, I haven't seen anything to suggest in all of his fights that he can actually box off the jab and keep away from Povetkin for 12 rounds. Not like that. I haven't seen it, but if he could do it on Saturday night, it would be amazing. One of the things people underestimate about Povetkin is his endurance. He might be at the twilight of his career, but he has extremely durable. He is durable. Sasha lost to people with good jabs and straight rights. White's jab's decent, but his right hand's not all that. Would argue with you about his right hand being straight right hand. His straight right hand. If you look at a White straight right hand when he fought Rivas, it was the straight right hand he landed at distance when he set the jab up and threw the straight right hand down the middle. Was the one that started the show with Oscar Rivas, and Oscar Rivas is no mug. So I would disagree with you on the straight right hand. White's biggest problem with that right hand is when he's looking to load up. When he just throws it bang bang straight down the pipe, it's okay. It's when he's trying to really load up with a right hand. That's when he guy throws himself off balance. That's the problem. When you try to load up too much. Dillian Whyte must make sure that if his back touches the ropes, he doesn't stay there. Wheel away to the right of Povetkin and tie up on the inside and try to work. That's it. Do not stand. Do not give your back. But you see, those things are fine and dandy in the first couple of rounds. After 6 or 7 rounds at a hectic pace, the sort of pace that I don't think any of those other guys can set on White, there's a problem because your legs start to get tired. The juice starts going out your legs, you know? And again, the other thing about this fight as well, when you know it's the most dangerous fight of your career, when you know that everything's on the line for this fight, there's a sort of energy for that. And the other thing is, remember, there's no crowds for this fight. There's no British fan going, there's only one Dillian Whyte. It's none of that. There's no drunkard singing on the night. There's no extra motivation for that. It's a different atmosphere. Can Dillian Whyte adapt to that fighting with no fans? That's a different situation. You all are forgetting this as well. Ingram. Yes, BG London. Portugal might have something to do with it. Yeah, we'll talk about the weight there. Blue Collar Sports TV. Povetkin doesn't have the greatest stamina. Again, I touched on it earlier. However, he has an excellent knack of managing it. Fights in bursts. He was very effective late on against Hunter due to his experience. Listen, let me tell you something. If he didn't have the stamina, he would not have got through that fight with Hunter. For Povetkin to win, he should come at White, tie him up, or push his head down when roughing him up on the inside. Do body work until the time's right where the hook comes into play. Yes, maybe like what Joshua did to him, which was hide the right hand, use the jab and hide the right hand until suddenly just boom, one right hand through the middle. And that's what Joshua did. He hid the right hand from Povetkin. He definitely looked gas at times, and that put slows last half in most recent fights. Let's think. Well, Hughie Fury is quite a fit young individual. I've never known Hughie Fury to tire, and that's a young man. And then Hunter, those are two young men, much younger than Povetkin. So I think, I think you're being a bit unfair on Alexander Povetkin with two very fit athletic guys. Canelo, Eubank Sr., Mike Tyson in the later career trained like sprinters, not long distance runners. Yep. Does Dillian have a perfect fighting weight? Good question. Dillian's weight fluctuates too much, maybe 240, 245 pounds. You've got a great point there, BG. Who knows? Fighting with no fans. Totally forgot about that. White does thrive with the crowd. This makes it even more interesting. There we go. What is he going to do? When White gets himself into a tight spot, well, who's going to be? There's only one. It's none of that's going to be happening. It's strange that White brought Caldwell in when there's no fans, so Miller won't be overwhelmed by a crowd. What? I don't get it. I think Miller. Who's Miller? Oh right. Oh, it's strange that White brought Caldwell in where there's no fans, so Miller won't be overwhelmed by a crowd. Why would Miller be overwhelmed by a crowd? Why would he be overwhelmed by a crowd? Have you ever been to the Bethnal Green? Have you ever been to Bethnal Green? The atmosphere there is spine tingling. You know what I mean? And I've been close to ringside, and when there's a ruckus going on, I mean, anyway, when you're a professional trainer, you don't really concentrate on the crowds. You don't, and you don't. You don't. If you're a professional coach of any sport, whether it be boxing, cricket, rugby, I know as a professional coach that I ain't got time to worrying about what's going around me, who's watching me, whose dad's coming to watch this, and that. I don't worry. I block that out. I'm watching what my guys doing. I'm watching what my guys are doing on the pitch. I'm watching field placements. I'm watching everything on the game. That's my focus. I'm in the battle with the boys. I'm in the battle with the girls. I'm in the battle with the men. I'm in the battle with the women. I ain't got time to worry about who's looking at me, who's taking a photograph, who thinks this and that. That's not what it's about. So as a coach, I've seen Xavier Miller. I've seen him work. He ain't interested about no crowds. He's got to focus on it. And he's had 3, 4, 5 fighters on the belt sometimes. You know, so I don't. And remember, he's been in. You're talking like Xavier Miller's never been in a big fight before. He was in the opposite corner of Dillian White when he fought Derek Chisora. Or did you not know that? He was in the corner then for Derek Chisora. So he's been in and around the fights. Just because he didn't say, hi, I'm Xavier Miller, I'm here, doesn't mean he hasn't got that. He hasn't been there before. I visit Bethnal Green, London. Couple of good restaurants. Not bad. Shish kebab. Yep. Hackney, London. That's what I am, a Hackney lad. If Povetkin wins, do you think he'll take a step aside? Wouldn't it be something if Pulev versus Povetkin? What a fight that would be, eh? Pulev versus Povetkin. Who are you backing? In the past, you have mentioned this heavyweight on that heavyweight needing a heavyweight trainer. Well, is Miller a heavyweight trainer? Well, Don Charles, who he pays a lot of homage to, is Don Charles a heavyweight trainer? Your answer might be there. And again, of course, Xavier Miller, a lot of you don't know, and please do look at the interviews I've done with Xavier Miller before he got appointed as head coach. Xavier Miller has a lot of his original trainer was, and he used to box himself. His original trainer wasn't an American guy; it was an American trainer. So I think it was either the Detroit style. It might have been the Detroit style. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's got a lot of his stuff. Xavier Miller, what he trains a lot of, from what I see of Xavier, is a lot about hit and don't get hit. He's very much about being defensively responsible, you know, counter punching, making you miss, making you pay, you know, tucking up tight, you know, that's what Xavier Miller, that's what I see him being very good at. Pick your punches here and there. That's what I see of Xavier Miller. That's what I see him seem to be going and doing for the most part in his fighters. They're very good at being in the pocket, throwing punches, and being able to be in the pocket, throw shots, and not get too clipped themselves. Do you know? They spin themselves out of trouble, being able to fight on the inside. Guys that engage when they want to engage, and then when they need to disengage, they have to disengage. So that's where I see Xavier Miller. That's where I see Xavier Miller's strengths are. There could be a lot more, but that's what I've seen of him and his fighters. Guys, pick you apart. Do you understand? Pick you apart surgically. That's the sort of trainer I see Xavier Miller being. Take you apart bit by bit by bit by bit. Anthony Hype Job Shooter. Oh dear me, call 2971. Where have you been? Pulev vs Povetkin. Guys coming out of that fight with dentures and retainers. Sheesh, what a war that would be. Yeah. So Copend 09, I think I would say that Xavier Miller, is he a heavyweight trainer? Well, if he isn't, then that's down to honestly down to Dillian White, but I have no reason to believe he's not, or he knows. He seems to know what he's doing to me. But again, that's why I look at it. But it's not so much about what Xavier Miller does. It's about what Dillian White's done. It's about what he does in the ring on the night. And has he? And the other question I will ask is this: has it been Dillian White leading the camp, or has it been Xavier Miller leading the camp with Dillian White? See, the difference is the strengths and weaknesses of both guys between what's his name, Mark Tibbs and Xavier Miller. What are their strengths and weaknesses? We know that Mark Tibbs said that Dillian White was hard work. Is Xavier Miller able to put his foot down with Dillian White when he needs him to? Is he able to get that extra gear out of him? Has he been able to, while he's been in camp with Dillian, has he been able to get him to put that extra bit of work in necessary to improve his stamina? We can all say, well, yeah, Dillian White, he's lost weight. Well, that's because he's been out in a hot country. So, of course, he's going to lose the weight. Consistent heat. So, I don't know. You see, even when we looked at David Haye when he was fighting Tony Bellew for the first time, he looked great on the scales. But then when he had to go to work, it's another matter altogether. So I don't know. I really don't know. The only thing consistent about this fight is Alexander Povetkin. That's the consistent thing. Alexander Povetkin in this fight is the consistent thing. Same trainer, same team, similar weight, usual weight. Those things, that's what we know with Povetkin. Might be a little older, but same old Povetkin. Yeah? And there are things he would have looked at in that fight that, you might think, you know what? I can improve here. I can improve here. I can improve here. And I think Povetkin's one of those guys who would go back and work. I haven't heard any reports of Povetkin sparring at all. So that'd be interesting to see how he's been doing sparring with Derek Chisora. I would like to know how he did that and how those sparring sessions went. We all got to start somewhere, I guess, but does it make this fight more interesting as it's for mandatory? Mate, I don't really care much for the whole mandatory thing. I really don't care. There's WBC diamond belt involved. I really don't care. I don't care. White saying he would fight again in December. I mean, if Deontay Wilder's not around, could Dillian White get that fight in December? Again, that's all going to be dependent on if this country goes down into a second lockdown. If this country goes into a second lockdown, there might not be no Dillian White fight in February. If the country goes down into another lockdown, boxing's hurt already. How much more hurt could boxing be if we go into another lockdown? I don't know. But they've got all the safety procedures in place. For those people who've just joined us, by the way, I've got some breaking news for you. Tyson Fury, yes, the Gypsy King, I'm just repeating myself, there's strong rumors that he could become the next host for the Contender series. So have a chew on that tonight. Tyson Fury, host of the Contender series. And for those of you who don't remember the Contender series, that was a show that had Sugar Ray Leonard on. I think that was the Sugar Ray Leonard series was the best. That was where we got to meet Paul Smith. And then we had Codrington and Alan. Was it Alan Green or Codrington? One of the two. Jay Codrington and Sergio Mora. Yeah, those guys from the Contender series. Remember those guys? So they say Tyson Fury would be the next guy to be a part of it and be the host. As I said, it'll be interesting to see how Tyson Fury does when he's not the center of attention and it's the other guys fighting. So it should be interesting. Imagine Xavier's second fight training at heavyweight for heavy to be for WBC title. Could be something. Could be something. The other thing we can talk about very briefly here is what happens what would happen if Dillian White were to lose his fight? Where would he go then? Where would the next opportunity go if Dillian White were to lose his fight? Povetkin moves into a contender position again. He moves into number one contender. So then you've got Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder to face. What happens then? Because I don't see how you give. I don't think Anthony Joshua is gonna want to fight Povetkin again, is he? So you've got Deontay Wilder, you've got Tyson Fury, the WBC over there. So how does that work out? Want to fight Joyce Dubois? Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Very interesting. Maybe. Because they were talking about White versus Dubois out of nowhere. But I don't see Dubois fighting White because I think Joyce is going to beat Dubois. But again, we'll wait and see. I think I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, check out our interview. If you haven't seen it already, check out our interview with Stacey McKinley, the former trainer of Mike Tyson, the current trainer of Trevor Bright, who fights September the 25th against Manuel Shah for WBA regular heavyweight championship award. And just for my good friend Joe Blow, who doesn't understand the sport of boxing, I do have to say to him that the WBA title is the most prestigious belt in boxing because that was the belt that Muhammad Ali had when for all the other belts. That WBA belt was the most prestigious belt in boxing. All right, so that's that belt is a genuine belt, the WBA belt. Yes, it may have gone into some strange hands over the years, but it's a genuine belt. When David Haye had it in his hands, it was a genuine belt. Yeah, when David Haye was heavyweight champion, well, I didn't hear anyone say it was a paper belt. They took it, and they took it as a unification belt when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. When Povetkin was WBA regular champion, everyone said Povetkin was champion. So is it the belt that makes you champion, or is the champion makes the belt? We've got to make our minds up here. But the WBA belt, while it might be not recognized by some people, the Ring Magazine belt is recognized. Don't know, it is recognized, but it's not as prestigious as the WBA belt because it's got some real history behind it. You understand? So no one cares for it. The people who don't care about it are the people who don't understand the history and the legacy of the WBA belt. They're all quick to jump at Tyson Fury, and he's the what's he? What, not interim? What did he used to call Tyson Fury? What was the word that Tyson used to run around and call himself? There's a man that beat the man that beat the man. What was that name again? Oh shit! They call themselves that. Not undisputed. What was the name of it? That was a name he used to call it all the time. But yeah, I don't think you can dismiss the WBA belt. Rocky Fielding held it. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the WBA heavyweight belt. When did Muhammad Ali have the Rocky? When did Muhammad Ali ever have the WBA heavyweight super middleweight belt? What are you talking about? Lineal, that's it. Lineal. What are you talking about, Ruben Guerrero? Lineal, thank you so much. What are you talking about? Rocky Fielding held it. What on earth are you talking about? Yeah, Canelo's got it, daddy, didn't he? What on earth are you talking about, Ruben Guerrero? Oh my God. You need to go and do your history, mate, and study the belt. Study the history of that belt. That WBA belt is the most prestigious belt there. Let me talk about the WBC belt, but the WBA belt was before all them other belts. Okay, so do you understand? You need to look at your history when you talk about that belt. I don't see how you can just cut from history from that because you don't like the belt holder. I believe if it was a matchroom fight holding that belt, you'd be turning around and saying, "Yeah, he's a great fighter, brilliant fighter, great belt." So I'm not getting caught up into the hype. I respect the belt for what it is. Do you understand? I don't know what's going on with that belt and why it's been held up so long, like it's been hijacked. But hopefully September the 25th we get resolution with that belt and we move on. Right, I'm getting out of here. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, take care.